Lonely rivers flow to the sea. With that old time of rock and roll. You're the only one at all.
A studio spends $100 million on a movie. They hire the biggest stars, run trailers during the Super Bowl, open on 4,000 screens. The movie does its number and disappears. But the 3-minute song they stuck on the end credits? That song is still playing at a wedding reception somewhere in Ohio 30 years later, and nobody at that wedding has any idea what movie it came from. These are the songs that didn't just outlive the films they were written for. They swallowed them whole. 10 tracks that became bigger than the movies that gave them a name. No ballads waiting around for permission, no anthems asking for a second life. Just music that left Hollywood in the rearview. Let's get into it. Number 1. Bohemian Rhapsody, Wayne's World.
I'm just a poor boy, nobody loves me. He's just a poor boy from a poor family.
Wayne released Bohemian Rhapsody in October 1975. 6 minutes, no chorus. Ballad, opera, hard rock, coda. It broke every rule. It spent 9 weeks at number 1 in the UK. A masterpiece. All of that happened 17 years before Wayne's World existed. In 1992, Mike Myers and Dana Carvey headbanged to it in a car. The scene was funny, perfectly timed, and introduced the song to a generation not yet born when Freddie Mercury recorded it. The film made $183 million worldwide. That scene sent Bohemian Rhapsody back to number 2 on the Hot 100. The label re-released it. Millions more copies sold. The film deserves credit for that second life. But the song never needed a second life. It had never stopped being one of the most played, most recognized recordings on Earth. Mercury wrote something that followed no formula. It has outlived every attempt to explain it or attach it to something else. Wayne's World is a funny movie from 1992. Bohemian Rhapsody will be sung in cars as long as people listen to music. The film gave it a moment. The song was never waiting for one. Number 2. Lose Yourself, 8 Mile.
Not miss a chance to blow. This opportunity goes once in a lifetime. You better.
8 Mile came out in November 2002. Eminem as a fictionalized version of himself. Detroit. Poverty. Rap battles. The film made $242 million worldwide. Solid movie. Told its story well. Then the lead single made the film almost irrelevant. Eminem wrote and recorded Lose Yourself during breaks and filming. It stayed at number 1 for 12 weeks, the longest run that year. It won the Oscar for Best Original Song. Eminem didn't attend. He was at home in Detroit, asleep on the couch with his daughter. The song crossed every demographic. Football games, boxing matches, corporate motivational videos, military training facilities. The opening guitar riff became one of the most recognizable sounds of the 2000s. 8 Mile told one man's story. The song left that behind and became what people play when they need to believe they have one shot and cannot afford to waste it. That's a bigger job than any movie can offer. Number 3. Eye of the Tiger, Rocky III. Rocky III came out in 1982. The weakest of the original trilogy. Stallone loses to Mr. T, trains to win it back. Made $125 million domestically. People liked it. Nobody called it great. Stallone wanted a hard-driving rock song for the training montage. Survivor wrote Eye of the Tiger. It hit number 1 for 6 weeks. Won a Grammy. The song left the movie behind almost immediately. Gyms, sporting events, locker rooms, fourth quarter timeouts. It became the universal anthem for anyone pushing through something difficult. Running a marathon, finishing a term paper. It did not require Rocky Balboa. Rocky III is the one with Mr. T. That's what most people remember. Eye of the Tiger is what plays when a 60-year-old man decides to finish his first 5K. Nobody in that crowd is thinking about Sylvester Stallone. Number 4. Unchained Melody, Ghost.
Lonely rivers flow to the sea, to the sea.
The Righteous Brothers recorded Unchained Melody in 1965. The song was already a classic for 25 years when Ghost came out in 1990. The pottery scene, Patrick Swayze, Demi Moore, A Potter's Wheel, became one of the most famous in romantic cinema. The film made $505 million worldwide. Ghost sent the song back onto the charts. A charting that high, a quarter century after release, was almost unheard of. But here's what matters. The song was already being played at weddings, funerals, and slow dances long before Patrick Swayze ever touched a pottery wheel. Ghost gave it a second wave, a new generation. One of the most recognizable visual associations in film. But the song didn't need any of it. Ghost is a good film. But Unchained melody will be playing at wedding receptions long after the pottery scene has faded. Bobby Hatfield recorded something in 1965 that no film, no matter how successful, could ever own. Number 5. I Don't Want to Miss a Thing, Armageddon.
And I don't wanna miss a thing, 'cause even when I dream of you.
1998, Armageddon. Bruce Willis. Oil drillers sent into space to destroy an asteroid. Made $553 million worldwide, highest grossing film of the year. Reviews were brutal. Loud, dumb, overlong. Ben Affleck has joked about the plot holes. Diane Warren wrote the song. Aerosmith recorded it. Steven Tyler's real-life daughter Liv was in the movie. It became Aerosmith's first and only #1 single in their entire career. A band that had been making hits since the early 70s. The song did something the movie could not. It survived. Armageddon is now a punchline, a symbol of late 90s blockbuster excess. But the song became a permanent fixture at weddings, proms, and karaoke bars worldwide. Covered in dozens of languages, played in countries where nobody has ever heard of the film. Aerosmith spent 3 decades building a catalog of hard rock classics. Their biggest commercial hit was a power ballad written by somebody else for a movie about drilling into a space rock. Steven Tyler has had a complicated relationship with that fact ever since. Number 6. Blaze of Glory, Young Guns 2. Young Guns 2 came out in 1990. Sequel about Billy the Kid. Made less than the original. Poor reviews. Came and went without making much of a mark. John Bon Jovi was asked to write a song. He went further. He wrote and recorded an entire solo album, and the title track became one of the biggest singles of 1990. Number 1 for 1 week. Nominated for an Oscar. Won a Golden Globe. The film is now a footnote. Young Guns 2 does not show up on any best of lists. The song remains a staple of classic rock radio. Bon Jovi played it live for over 3 decades. It outlived the movie by such a wide margin that most people who know the song have no idea it was written for a film about Billy the Kid. Number 7. What a Feeling, Flashdance. Flashdance came out in 1983. A welder by day, dancer by night. Critics were not kind. Roger Ebert, great sound and Flashdance signifying nothing, made $93 million domestically. Nobody called it a great film. The song was a different matter. Irene Cara. Giorgio Moroder. That electronic pulse. The vocal trying to lift itself off the ground. Number 1 for 6 weeks. Won an Oscar and a Grammy. Within months, it was playing in aerobics classes across America. Then on pop radio for the rest of the decade. People started associating it with an entire era rather than a specific film. Ask someone born after 1990 what Flashdance is. They will probably say it's a song. They won't know there was a movie attached. That's what happens when a 3-minute vocal performance overshadows an entire 95-minute film. Number 8. Old Time Rock and Roll, Risky Business.
With that old time rock and roll.
Bob Seger recorded Old Time Rock and Roll in 1978. Modest hit. Number 28. Not considered a signature track. That would change 5 years later because of a 21-year-old in his underwear. 1983. Tom Cruise slid across a hardwood floor in his socks, dress shirt, and underwear. The song underneath was old-time rock and roll. The scene became one of the most replicated movie moments of the 80s. But here's the thing. The song didn't need the movie. It was written as a tribute to 50s and 60s rock and roll. Seeger sang it like a man defending the music that shaped him. That opening piano riff belonged to Seeger long before it belonged to Tom Cruise. Risky Business launched Cruise's career, made $64 million, but old-time rock and roll went on to be ranked one of the most played jukebox songs in America. The film gave Cruise a career. The song didn't need anything from the film except a little extra attention. Number 9. Against All Odds, Phil Collins. 1984. A thriller called Against All Odds. Jeff Bridges, Rachel Ward. Remake of a film noir. Made $22 million. Mixed reviews. Out of theaters in weeks. Ask 100 people what it was about. Maybe 3 could tell you. Then there's the song. Phil Collins. Slow piano ballad. A vocal so exposed, it sounded like he was singing it directly into your living room. Number 1 for 3 weeks. Nominated for an Oscar. Collins was famously not invited to perform it. The Academy had Anne Reinking dance to it instead. One of the stranger decisions in Oscar history. The song became one of the defining ballads of the 80s, covered and sampled dozens of times. A fixture on adult contemporary radio and slow dance playlists worldwide. The movie that gave the song its title is essentially gone. The song took the name and left the film behind like a hotel room it checked out of 40 years ago. Number 10. Footloose, Kenny Loggins.
Now I gotta cut loose, footloose.
1984. Paramount released Footloose. A teenager moves to a small town where dancing is banned. Kevin Bacon. Made $80 million. Solid hit. Then, the movie faded into the background while the song went on to have an entire career of its own. Kenny Loggins wrote the title track. Number 1 for 3 weeks. Nominated for an Oscar. But here's what happened next. The movie stopped being part of the conversation within a couple of years. People remembered Kevin Bacon and the dancing. Not much else. The song never stopped. Weddings. School dances. Parties. Any event where someone needed to get a room full of people out of their chairs. That opening guitar riff was enough. Everybody knew what was coming. 40 years later, the song still plays every single weekend across the country. The movie got a remake in 2011 that almost nobody remembers. The song didn't need a remake. It never went away in the first place. A studio spends $100 million on a movie. The biggest stars, Super Bowl trailers, 4,000 screens. The movie does its number and disappears. But the 3-minute song they stuck on the end credits is still playing at a wedding reception somewhere in Ohio 30 years later. And nobody at that wedding has any idea what movie it came from. These are 10 songs that became bigger than the movies they were in.